Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Frederick No, and I'm an associate professor in the College of Education. I'm also the chair of the Grad Student Research Awards Committee. I'm joined by some other members of the committee, as well as Nia, who is in the Graduate College working at the GPSA, and also Associate Dean Emily Lynn. Is Emily here? Yes, there. So I'm going to go ahead and share the presentation. Hopefully this works. Just a second. Where did it go? Okay. All right. Yeah, can you see that? Yes. Okay. So thank you all for coming. We're very excited to announce a new opportunity for graduate students called the Graduate Student Research Awards. And how this will work is we're going to kind of go over the award and some of the details, and then there will be a Q&A session at the very end where you can chat your questions, and then Nia will field all that and we'll try to answer them as best as we can. And this is being recorded so that we can make the link available for those who are not able to attend. So, I think we're all very familiar with the current reality of funding for graduate education and different opportunities, and we know it's been a very chaotic year. And so, um, the graduate college is kind of trying to step in and address some of the challenges that funding cuts have created. They're from NSF to NIH in the STEM fields and also in humanities as well. There have been significant funding cuts, including at UNLV, which has itself lost more than $16 million. And we know that this has a direct and indirect impact on opportunities available to graduate students. And so, what the graduate college has decided to do is allocate some funding to support graduate student research projects. And the primary goal of this is to help support graduate student research to both increase their research activity and help them proceed in a timely manner towards graduation. What the award looks like is an opportunity to compete for one of three categories of awards. And so we've delineated this to be micro awards, mid-level awards, major awards. Micro awards are under $1,000. Mid-level awards are between $1,000 and $3,500. And then major awards are over $3,500 but below $10,000. And so we thought that this would be the best way to um, support different types of graduate student activities. Some research endeavors are much more costly than others, and so we want to, take account for differences across fields and different types of projects. So there are some eligibility requirements, and these are very similar to those used by GPSA for their funding opportunity. So you do need to be enrolled at the time of application in a program governed by the graduate college. If you're unclear if the program you're in is governed by the graduate college, you can please ask your faculty advisor. The funds, so we'll be reviewing them all throughout the spring, and the funds should be awarded around June. And so as you prepare your proposal, please note that the funds should be used sometime between summer 2026 and spring 2027. This also means that if you're graduating in spring 2026, you're not eligible to apply at this time because the funds won't be available till after the end of spring semester. Much like the GPSA award, you do need to have completed at least 6 credits and have a minimum 3.0 GPA. you can only submit one application per cycle, and we are hoping that this will be an annual award made to graduate students. So if you don't get it this year, you can apply again next year. It is designed to be an individual award, as in awarded to a single student. So if you are working on a collaborative project, like on a research team, which we know happens a lot, in your application, please outline the individual responsibilities and individual contributions and research activities that you will be making. It really is designed to support graduate students towards their degree completion. So the priority for the award when we make the funding decisions will go first to doctoral students and students in terminal degree programs. Um, we did receive a few free questions leading up to this, and one thing I do want to make clear that this is funding that will be awarded to all types of research endeavors. So quantitative work, qualitative work, artistic work, creative work, all of that. If the main criteria is that if it's some kind of research activity that is important to your degree completion, um, and funding that could not be projects that cannot be achieved or completed without funding support. So if you're in a master's degree program, you are eligible to apply, but please do make the case in your proposal that you need this funding to help complete your degree program, the research project and your degree program. If you are already receiving funding for your research activity or this specific research project, um, you'd have to make the case that there's no double dipping. You can't receive funding for some part of your project that's already being funded. You can receive funding for a part of your project that is not yet funded. Okay, so like if you only have, some portion of money available to you to complete your project and you need X amount of dollars to complete the rest of the project, that would be fine. So what can the fund be used for? Things like participant incentives, um, purchasing research materials and supplies, transcription of interviews. You can propose to use the funds to do research relevant trips. For example, you need to do a site visit, field work somewhere, you need to travel, that's fine. We generally are not trying to fund solely research presentations, but if it's connected to the project, then you can make a case for that. And, if it's more about like you need time and living expenses and things like that to support your research activities, you would explain all of that in your proposal request. So what does the application look like? So this will all be done in a Qualtrics application form. There really will be five main parts to this. The first is a project narrative. So this should be between 750 and 1,000 words. And when you open the application document, you'll see the specific questions that we're hoping that you will address, which include like the significance of the project and the specific research activities. You'll upload a project timeline, sort of when throughout the course of the year you expect to be engaging in different projects, different components of the project, excuse me. Please upload a budget, including a justification for each item, and I'll go through some examples of each of these, and your CV. And then importantly, the fifth component is a letter of support from your faculty advisor. And the reason for this is so that um, we can get a sense of the support for your project, its significance, and also like the feasibility of completing the project. For example, if you're proposing something that just is not going to be approved by IRB, then um, your advisor can speak to that. Like if we need your advisor to sort of comment on the feasibility of the project. Okay, so let's go through each attachment. So in addition to the 750 750 to 1,000 words, you'll first have a 150 word abstract. Then in the proposal, these are the main questions we'd like you to address in your proposal narrative. So the goals and objectives, the specific research plan, what steps will you take to conduct the research over the course of the year, and broadly, kind of what is the significance of the award, both for you in your scholarly career and also the research itself and the intellectual merit of it. There will be some formatting guidelines posted in the application, font size, pages, etc. Secondly, and this is very typical with grant applications, you'd provide a budget and a budget justification. So here's an example from GPSA. Now, this one is all travel, but I'll show you how you might change it for this particular research award. But you can see it's like itemized, like the what the expected cost of plane ticket and lodging would be, and then there's a justification explanation of each of the items. In this particular case, since it's more about research activities, you could do things like, I need gift cards for to hold a raffle because I'm doing a survey, and so I'd like to request $300 for 3 gift cards. You put the justification there. Say you're also conducting interviews and you want help with transcription services. So you could put that there and give a justification. Okay, so that's the budget. You should also have a project timeline as your third attachment. And this is just, we want to see, the committee would like to see that you've thought through the research process and kind of have your own set of internal deadlines for yourself. So here's an example. This is actually a real budget, a real timeline that I submitted to the Spencer Foundation. It shows kind of when I expect to have each component of my research project to be done, and also what the expected products will be, like a proposal submission. Yours may look different because this is in my field of study. This is another way you could organize a timeline. You could put the months up here, and then what are the specific activities and when you anticipate completing them. Okay, overall, the application reviewers, which is the committee, will be interested in seeing that you've thought through the steps necessary to complete your research project, including specific research activities over time, and also like when the products should be completed. So here's an overview of the timeline for this award. Um, so the webinar's now, it'll be recorded and shared. Very soon, you'll receive like a full kind of invitation to apply. All graduate students will receive that. The application should open January 5th, and then they will be due February 5th. Did I not talk about the advisor thing? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's over there. Oh, sorry. This is out of order. Um, we'll review them in February and March and should have them finalized sort of late April, May. And then funding should be dispersed to your accounts in June. Sorry, let's go back to this. Attachment number 4 was a CV. So please include your CV. And then also a letter from your faculty advisor. This will be a little tricky because the your advisor won't get pinged to write a letter or to submit a letter until you submit your application. So my tip would be to please let them know early that you will be expecting a letter of support from them because you don't want to be the person that submits February 5th, your advisor gets pinged, and then they only have a week to submit it. We do need the letters by February 12th from the advisor. So, this is a good opportunity to have a conversation with them, talk through the project, talk through the funding request, and, you know, help them, work together to think of how you can come up with a very competitive application. Again, the letter should comment on the goals and significance of this project, the need for funding and why it's needed in order to complete the project, the timeline, including, if IRB is relevant, the likelihood of getting approved, and also comment on you or the students' progress towards degree completion. Okay, now we can go back to this. So the committee will be reviewing the awards some late February and into March. We'll be using a rubric and then notifying you all if you receive the award via email. Lastly, for the people who do receive the award, we have two expectations within the year. The first would be to submit a final report. This is very typical of federal grant. Actually, for federal grants, there's reporting all the time, but a report of your activities, your progress, your products. And then we are expecting awardees to also participate in the graduate student research forum, which usually happens in the spring. Okay. I think that's it in terms of these instructions. So now I see there's several questions. So I will invite Nia and Emily, who are much more familiar with all the process questions, to help answer some of these.
All right, folks, what are your questions? Should we include so one of the questions is in our timeline, should we include achievements? Yes. Thank you for presenting. Like the applause.
Achievements.
Should we include our
Okay.
achievements of timeline of our, sorry, should we include achievements of our timeline already achieved, or should it only cover future steps? So these are with your specific project phases.
Um, yeah, I mean, if you feel like that helps us understand kind of where your project is at and the need for funding, then yes, that could help. Will the grading rubric be posted
Posted.
available before submitting the applications?
Oh, the actual rubric itself. So we're not going to actually post the rubric that the committee is going to use to evaluate applications, but it's basically everything that he already said in this presentation. So the rubric is essentially those points where it's the goals and the objectives and the timeline, and it's the four different attachments. So just making sure that those are submitted based in the way that were just presented to you all through this presentation. And we'll also make some of the example materials available to you guys so people can reference these as they're completing their application.
Is an IRB approved project eligible? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. The main thing would be, again, to outline kind of the future research activities and why you need funding to carry them out, and you know how it's relevant or essential for your own degree completion.
And also, if it doesn't have IRB approval, it'd be really difficult to fund it. So please do know that you're seeking IRB approval if it's not already approved. Oh, and
Right.
one of our committee members is right
Oh
there.
yeah.
Oh, Dr. Luke.
Professor Lim?
Yeah, so just a quick question. You already mentioned that this award cannot cover or not prefer to cover the conference travel unless it is also funded by project. Could you elaborate a little bit more about that? Because some of our students working on their dissertation topic as a last year PhD students, not fully funded with that other than the GA ship, or I mean, not for the last year, but but they're presenting their work at a conference, international conference. Does it cover the travel costs?
Yeah, you want me to take that one? Sure. Jaewon, the awards, intention of these awards, again, is to support more of the research to degree completion. There are other avenues in terms of travel support for students. So this award, we ask that there's to be no duplication of
Right.
requests to support the same activity. So if the
Okay.
student has approached, let's say GPSA for travel support, that would be one avenue where they can get, or one pathway in order to get funds to support their travel. Again, these funds are not primarily used for travel. We're looking to support more of the research activities that students need for degree completion. I hope that helps.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I just responded in the chat. Wait, are there any items ineligible? Are there any items ineligible for funding? For example, GPSA doesn't permit per diems.
Yeah, so in this program, we haven't stated that you cannot get per diems in this program. We do ask that you do try to utilize the GSA website similar to what UNLV uses. And Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that the committee chose to exclude per diems like GPSA did.
Yeah, so thanks, Nia. So when you submit your budget, you're going to list and provide the items that you're requesting funds for, and then the rationale and justification for that. So the reviewers will be looking for the rationale actually for why you're requesting. So if your like request includes like per diem and things, we're not restricting at this point, but again, there may be some restrictions when it's implemented. So this is a new program, so we're working through all the different details. Okay, hope that helps.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? Sorry, I posed that question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's anything that has already been stated beyond the duplication that might be restricted for this particular application.
Can you think of an example?
I mean, anything in terms of just like hiring an editor or conference registrations. Like I'm just thinking of some of the things that are restricted through GPSA or through IPO that may be eligible for this program instead.
Yeah, is Ashlyn on here? Ashlyn Gray, our Director of Student Financial Services. I thought I saw her. Ashlyn, would you be able to chime in on the usage of and restrictions on these funds, please?
So there is no restrictions on the funds and how they're used. So it would ultimately be up to the committee to make a decision on whether or not some things are going to be restricted. But it sounds like up until this point, we have not made any restrictions on anything. So please just submit your request, like Emily said, with a justification. And then that will we'll be able to determine at that point what makes sense for the group. I'm sure moving forward in the next couple of years, we might have some of those restrictions built in, but at this point, it's kind of open. So I would say take your best ideas and put them into the proposal.
Thank you, Ashlyn. Yeah. So, I mean, essentially the point to note as a student interested in these funds is you're showing the need for it in terms of the research activities, right? That will support your degree progression as well as completion. So note that in mind, okay? Thank you.
Okay, continuing down the questions, do you need to decide which award you're applying for? Yes, because it's tied to the budget amount you've requested, so the mid, micro, or major. If I apply to the GSRA, can I apply to GPSA as well?
So again, that question, you can't be double dipping, right? You go to want to support perhaps your travel, and then you might use this. Again, we're looking for research activities mainly. We're not looking for necessarily the travel support or conference support. Okay, I hope that helps.
And of course, we know that GPSA also covers X amount of dollars. Like it might be 1250 that you can get from GPSA, or even $2,500 you can get for GPSA, especially if you've broken your project up into phases. But we also understand that some projects cost more than that. That's why there are the larger, the major awards of $10,000. It's just important to just disclose any other funding that you might have received upfront. And if there's other funding that you're seeking and you don't know, you don't have an answer on that yet, there's actually questions in the application. So just please disclose anything upfront, and then we can go from there.
Angelica asked, can industry conferences to facilitate focus groups? Perfect. That sounds like a great use. That you're going to be engaging in a research activity at this particular place. That's like field work. And so you can present a request for conducting that. Sarath asked, what's the relationship between funding? Okay, so similar. If students receive funding through this, does it impact their ability to request funding for the GPSA? I would say no. Again, like Emily said, it's more about the double dipping. We can't really fund the same research activity through both mechanisms. Will the grading rubric be posted?
No, the
At
grading
this
rubric
point,
will not be
at this
won't be
point, no,
posted.
because it doesn't quite exist yet. But they will be scored according to those questions that we've listed.
And previously also was mentioned that is priority given to students who are working on like the final stages of their dissertation. And this award is also, again, for students who are actively doing data collection phases of the research. This isn't necessarily for the write-up phase. And while those things do happen in tandem sometimes, it's supposed to be for folks who are collecting, who are doing the research right now.
Kimberly asks, how much can we ask for to buy a data source? My answer would be up to $10,000, but I don't know if Emily has a different.
That's correct.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I
that
mean
would be a
it.
case where you should really explain, why this, the cost of the data, get your advisor to sort of elaborate on that and support the request.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's your rationale and the need that you're demonstrating, right? For why you need to purchase that. And the amount, let's say if it's like $2,000 for that purchase, then you would, if that's your only request, then you would go for the mid-level category for requesting those funds. I hope that makes sense. Thanks.
Jamie says, if we want to use this funding to cover living expenses and stipends, what information would you like us to provide? For example, some programs do not currently cover funding after 4 years. Would this be acceptable justification? Yeah, I mean, say your research activity doesn't really involve, purchasing data or like purchasing some research instrument, and what you need is really just the time to like look through an archive or look through artwork or something. Like you can if you can link as much as possible that the need for funding to support um living expenses and stipends so you can have the
Mm-hmm.
time, then that's fine too. Who is on the committee that will evaluate these proposals? On the very first slide shows the whole committee. There is supposed to be one representative from each um, college. And through this whole process, we've tried to get, we've gathered input from each of those community members, and so there should have been representation throughout the whole development of this from across campus. Sarath, is that the same question? Oh, yeah. Does it impact the ability to receive future funding from GPSA?
Nope.
Nope.
As long as it's not a double dipping situation, then you're absolutely fine. Research costs money.
Yeah.
That's why these funds are here. No, I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
can do
Is
it
there
here.
anything
There
else?
were a couple of other budget examples. I put those in the original Google slides, but there are a couple of other budget examples if we wanted to show students some of those possibly.
Um,
Even though I'm technically the meeting host, it's not letting me actually attach anything to the chat. Oh, no, wait.
oh, I got signed out of my drive.
Actually, here we go. So I do have a couple of other budget examples here that I just attached to the chat. One of them is
Okay,
for transcription services, like we talked about through some other examples here. And then another one is for equipment, for lab equipment.
thank you.
I see there's a question about when to contact your um, faculty advisor. Is that the question?
Well,
So you shouldn't wait to notify, if that's the question, you shouldn't wait to notify your faculty advisor who's going to be supporting your support letter for your application. Um, as soon as you receive the invitation to apply for these research funds, I would encourage you to reach out to your faculty advisor to notify them that you will be applying for this opportunity and to share with them the items that we presented in the slides about what they should include in that support letter, if that was the question.
To answer
there's
some other
one, if we
questions in the
apply,
chat.
should you reach out? Well, it will take some time, probably all of February and March to go through it, but we do hope to have them done by, I would say, April 1st.
Yeah, I mean, once you submit, we would say we will be notifying all applicants whether they receive the funds or not. So even if you reached out, we will say we have no news for you. So if you can, after your submission, please have a little patience while the committee works through the adjudications of all the applications. We'd really appreciate it. Okay, thanks.
Could we include research material and living expense stipends in the same application? Yes, please include in budget justification. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
Jamie
you would
makes a good point
include it
about
all in one.
stipends.
Sorry, Nia.
Oh, I was saying for stipends, we talked about like hiring other individuals to help with things. There's other restrictions like that. Like all of this stuff, just make sure it's in your budget justification. If there's something that truly, if there is something that for whatever reason we just cannot fund, that'll be communicated if there's something special in there. But please be as detailed as you can in your budget justification.
Yeah, thanks, Nia. And please note, there's only one application per student
Cycle.
this funding cycle. So please note that.
Um, the period during which the funds can be used, should they be all used within 1 year?
Yes, if you are fortunate enough to be awarded these funds, we would anticipate that you expend the award during this award period. And because remember, you also have to follow up with a report on your activities of how you use those funds. So yes, the award period was outlined earlier. Thank you. I see J1 also has a question.
Thank you, Emily. Just for clarification purpose, those who are currently on graduate assistantship are still eligible for this funding, right?
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
So whether you're a GA or not a GA, you're still eligible.
So in that case, let's say the student doesn't need to purchase data, rather they just want to use it for the living expenses. There might be some students like that and applicants. Then, yeah, I see a little
Yeah,
bit
so
of, you know,
so J1,
yeah,
it's these funds are not intended for living expenses necessarily. Again, it is to help with the research component of the student's
sure.
program. That's the emphasis. Okay, does
Yeah,
that help?
okay, thank
Yeah,
you. Yep,
thank you.
yep.
Okay, Rui Fang has a good one that we haven't quite discussed. The major award is 3,500 to 10,000 if my estimate is 4,000, but the major award candidates may be full. Will I still have a chance to get the mic? Like, will you?
So
Yeah,
can I chime in on this one? So if you're requesting $4,000 for whatever materials or whatever activity is related to your research, then you would submit, right, for that third category between 35 and 10,000. This just outlines the limits, right? Bottom limit and upper limit. So you want to be able to justify the $4,000. So it doesn't mean this category, then just because you submit, you want to go for the full 10. That's not going to fly, right? You just want to provide the justification, the rationale for why you need those funds, and you apply accordingly. We're just setting up the boundaries for the different categories of awards. That's all. Does that help?
yeah. Yeah, the main evaluative criteria will be around the research activities and not like which category it fell in. Alice said, if your advisor doesn't have a lab and you need lab space, you receive the award. Is there a lab space available at the school? I don't know about that.
So there is no lab space in the graduate college, unfortunately. We wish we had lab space, but and I don't think even the upper limit of $10,000 could have us purchase lab space. If you have that issue, I'm happy to have a conversation with you and your grad coordinator about additional support that you may need to complete your research project. But the rationale of using between $3,000 to $10,000 for lab space, I don't think that is something that would be supported. Does that answer your question, or do you have follow-up?
I mean, there have been students who've had to book lab space at other universities or other private labs. Maybe there's something that wasn't available on campus. And that, I mean, it all goes back to the project narrative and the budget justification, which is what you're seeking. But if there's something very unique that you don't have access to here and you are able to get access to it elsewhere, definitely write that in. That is something that potentially could be covered. I mean, it's kind of a case by case basis situation. So if there's something specific and you're really unsure, you're more than welcome to email me. You're welcome to email Dr. No or Dr. Lin, and we will see what we can figure out from and go from there. Now, if we're going to build a lab, that's a maybe. Who knows? Talk to your student government. All right, the next one, the
Are there
major
any,
award.
yeah.
Oh, that was the right one. Were there any other questions that we haven't gotten to yet in the chat, or are there any other people who have lingering questions? Fantastic.
I'd say, please start a conversation with your faculty advisor about this, so that, everyone is in the loop and that they're not. As a faculty advisor myself, I would be very annoyed having to write a letter in 1 week's time at, February 5th without knowing anything about what your project is. So please start that process. You can start thinking about your proposals. We're very excited the whole committee is very excited about getting the chance to engage in this work and develop this new program. This is one committee that I've actually been very excited to be on, so that's a good sign.
Yes,
Please.
and thank you for that, for leading these efforts. And for Nia for her work. I know we're trying to support grad students to program completion as best we can. We are very thankful that you're interested in this program. We hope that the upcoming holiday that you do take some time just to relax and take care of yourself and get ready for the new spring semester. Please reach out if you have any additional questions. We're happy to answer. All right, take care, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Should I stop?